My name is Greg Bogosian, and I love everything about New England. Each week, I travel the region with my film crew searching for adventure. And along the way, I visit the places and the people that make New England extraordinary. This is New England like you've never seen it before. This is the New England Traveler. Today I'm heading to Bretton Woods, New Hampshire to visit the Omni Mount Washington Resort and the Cog Railway in Marshfield Station. I love exploring historic places in New England, and the Omni Mount Washington Resort and the Cog Railway are two that have a special place in New England history. But honestly, in making the 3-hour drive up from Boston, you've got to break up the trip a little bit. On 93 North between Massachusetts and New Hampshire, there are a lot of great places to stop. But for now, I'm keeping it simple and staying on course for the White Mountains. The New Hampshire Welcome Center is as good a place as any to get out and stretch for a minute. And while I'm here, I think I'll pick up some brochures for my next adventure. That's where we're going. I'm back in the Subaru in New Hampshire. I'm entering the White Mountain National Forest on the way to Bretton Woods and the Omni Mount Washington Resort. I have arrived. Craig Clemmer of the Omni Mount Washington has invited me up to explore the resort and all its amenities. The property is huge, so I have to move fast to take it all in.
The Mount Washington was the last of an era.
I really want to learn all about this historic property. But before I get to my talk with Craig, I need to grab a bite to eat. There are many excellent dining choices here. But tonight, I'm having dinner in the main dining room with Chef Roger Young. I'm here with Roger Young, chef de cuisine at the Omni Mount Washington Resort. Roger, how you doing, man?
Good, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me about where we are in the hotel?
We are in the historic main dining room. It has basically remained unchanged for the last 120 years. Just kind of freshened up a little bit without taking away from too much of the history. So I am a sous chef here at the hotel. I take care of a lot of scheduling, ordering, as well as quality control and implementation of new menu items, and so I'm a pretty busy guy.
You've been nice enough to bring me out a plate. Can you describe the plate for me a little bit?
Yes, here we have local George's Bank scallops with a organic pineapple relish, Meyer lemon-scented rice, as well as prosciutto-wrapped asparagus from a local farm here in New England.
For a large resort like this to be helping out the local economy, I think that's really cool. I'm really proud to be featuring a story on you guys, knowing as big as you are, you managed to keep that local flavor.
Oh yes, so that's what we're all about, and our new menu is really geared towards a local New England flair, and with that, using local New England products.
Excellent. All right, Roger, I'm going to take a bite of this now.
Please do.
All right, let me see. So you want to get a little bite of everything in there at the same time. You want the pineapple relish and scallop. This is great. Wow. The scallop just melts in your mouth, and the sweetness of the pineapple really brings out the taste of the scallop.
It's a nice, fresh summer dish for sure.
It is really for a warm day like today. This is a highlight of your summer menu, right? I'm just going to keep on digging into this.
This is one of our highlights. The menu itself looks greater all around, but this is one of our highlights.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying. I was concentrating on chewing. Along with lobster and fried clams, scallops are one of my favorite New England seafood dishes. And the way Chef Roger prepares them is truly unique and delicious. Now, shut all this down so I can eat. Now that I'm full on the scallops, I can check into my room and get ready for my trip up Mount Washington on the Cog Railway. After making my way to the White Mountains and the Omni Mount Washington Resort, I checked into my room and had a great dinner with chef de cuisine Roger Young. This is great. On day 2 of my White Mountain trip, I'm off to the Cog Railway, just a short drive from the resort.
How are you today?
Good. Thank you.
The Cog Railway has been entertaining and exciting passengers on its fleet of trains for well over 100 years.
Smile, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
My plan is to ride one of their newer, environmentally friendly biodiesel engines all the way to the summit of Mount Washington. And today, we have perfect weather for the trip. I had the opportunity to meet up with Gareth Slattery, who happens to know more about trains than anyone I've ever met.
Talk to me a little bit about the operations of the Cog Railway.
We have 5 biodiesels online right now, and I have 2 operating steamers. And we could have up to 6 on the track at once. It's a great team effort to get these to the top and get them back down.
All right, nice big smile, like you know what we're doing.
All aboard, folks. My first trip ever up Mount Washington. This is going to be cool.
And I'd like to welcome everybody to the Mount Washington Cog Railway. My name is Josh. I'll be your brakeman today.
Behind the scenes, I don't think a lot of people realize that these locomotives and coaches were designed and built right here.
How many people are on staff in the maintenance, the building?
Our maintenance team is comprised of about 10 to 12 folks. The daily operation in the summer, we hire somewhere around 45 people. There's always been a special group of people that have kind of kept this place going.
Now right here on the right is going to be a nice little clearing. You can look out across the mountain range.
I travel all over New England making this show, and I've had some pretty cool adventures along the way. I've swam with penguins, made friends with a harbor seal, made a batch of the oldest candy recipe in the country, and learned how whiskey is made. I even learned how to harness a team of Alaskan Huskies on a dog sledding trip in Maine.
I don't think they're listening.
But I can already tell that this is shaping up to be one of my best adventures yet.
This building's called the Halfway House, and it sits at an elevation of 4,500 feet. It marks out the halfway point in the elevation today. There's a sign that says this building is exactly level.
As far as I'm concerned, you can keep Mount Everest and Kilimanjaro. There is something about climbing Mount Washington, whether by car, bus, hiking, or train, that makes you feel like you accomplished something great.
What do you want people to really remember about their experience here?
The easy part is to look around. Everybody takes that in. But to appreciate the mechanics of it, to appreciate the history of it, it's a privilege and an honor to operate this place because of its historical value. Men of the Civil War built this thing.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
The Civil War was fought between 1861 and 1865. And it really made an impression on me that the very men who fought in battles to unite our country actually built this railroad so that we could enjoy a peaceful trip to the summit of Mount Washington. Today, I made it to the summit.
We probably have a good 80-mile visibility this trip.
And I have to admit, I feel a little of that pride that Sylvester Marsh must have felt when he built this railroad and ascended the summit for the first time. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. All I really did was ride in the coach. But still, there is a lot I haven't learned yet about the history of this railway. More on that later. I made it all the way to the summit of Mount Washington. Well, almost all the way to the summit. They made it all the way to the summit, and they're not waving. They don't care. The Cog Railway rules. You gotta come up here and do it. The scenery's amazing. People are awesome. Josh, the brakeman, was incredible. But like I said, I'm at the summit of Mount Washington, the highest point of the East Coast. Beats all those mountains out west. Those are just, yeah. Stay here. Stay in New England.
Now I'm at the top.
What I'm learning is that I have a lot to learn. This is not your ordinary train. The biodiesel is a smooth, efficient ride to the top. But seriously, folks, I came here for the history. So owner Kathy Bador was nice enough to invite me back tomorrow for a ride in a real piece of history. Tomorrow, we ride the steam. New England is the most historic region of the country, and the White Mountains area is home to 2 of the most iconic destinations, the Cog Railway and the Omni Mount Washington Resort. After taking a ride on a biodiesel at the Cog, I'm heading back to the hotel to catch up with Craig Clemmer for a deeper history lesson on the property.
Tell me about the history of the Mount Washington Resort. Well, the Mount Washington Hotel itself was built in 1902 by Joseph Stickney. He was a self-made man, made all of his money selling coal to the railroads, and he actually purchased another grand hotel that was right across the street from here called the Mount Pleasant House. And as they say, he got a taste for it. He decided he wanted to build his own grand hotel. So he enlisted the help of Charles Allingsford Gifford as his architect, and he purchased a small parcel of land, about 10,000 acres.
Beautiful. How long did it take to build?
Just about 2 years altogether.
Wow.
Up to about 35 trains a day would come up from New York and Boston and deposit guests up here in the White Mountains.
It's a totally different life than it is today.
It really was, and it was the place to see and be seen.
I can already tell I'm in for a heck of a story. Craig brought me to the historic Gold Room to continue our chat.
What was Stickney's inspiration for building this?
At the time, he really wanted to make sure all the creature comforts that his guests and the people that he did business with were used to were available here. So he wanted to truly build a state-of-the-art hotel at the time. You know, things like having hot and cold running water in every room, having electricity in every room. The president of that company that did all the electrical lighting installation here actually came up and turned the lights on for the first time. Well, that was Thomas Edison.
A fantastically rich history, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, we're in a room called the Gold Room. Talk a little bit about Bretton Woods Monetary Conference and how this room is significant in that.
Well, you know, obviously 44 countries from all over the world came to this location to kind of chart the course of economic recovery after World War II. You can actually say that the UN Security Council first sat down here, signed off on the agreements that came out of the Bretton Woods Conference, setting the price of gold at $35 an ounce, you know, and creating the world monetary system as we currently know it.
What an honor it is to sit at the table where great men doing great things once sat. And now you can add me to that list.
Talk about Princess Caroline and her role.
Well, Mr. Stickney's second wife, her name was Caroline Foster. She was a beauty of note. She and Joseph actually met on a yachting party. It was a bit of a May-December romance, and unfortunately, about 2 years after the hotel opened, he passed away, leaving everything to his beloved wife, Caroline. One of the neat eccentricities that she had was she always slept in her own bed. And we still have that bedroom 314. And so people always come up here and want to be treated like a princess.
Wait a minute. Did he just say treated like a princess? Now I know where I'm staying next visit.
It's kind of a neat place to come to, that's for sure.
I learned a lot from Craig. It makes me wish I'd pay closer attention in high school history class. But now it's time for my favorite subject, recess.
So we're rolling. And Craig and I are drunk. Not really, almost. So, anyway, I'm not, you know, well, I lost my train of thought. That's not like me, I'm a true professional.
All right, let's try this again.
We're in the cave, which is the, like Craig said, the bowels of the Mount Washington Resort Hotel, the haunted bowels, if you will. It's like, I mean, that sounds like a bad punk rock group. The haunted bowels. But anyway, so what's this awesome place we're in?
The cave itself was originally a squash court. And then Prohibition came along, and it turned into an actual Prohibition-era speakeasy. We still do a Prohibition punch here. We can't tell you what's in it, but no open flames near it and one per customer.
Okay, I'm having 2 of those later on.
Because what I really need is more alcohol.
They're not going to let me stay here now. So let's talk about the various activities and amenities at the Mount Washington.
Well, other than libational pursuits. Seriously, anything you'd want to do, this is sort of the platform to kind of explore the White Mountains.
Right.
It's a 4-season property. Whether you want to do some hiking, practice up on your fly fishing, not to mention tennis and 27 holes of golf on property. Stable for trail riding. Probably one of the best pursuits here is the canopy tour itself.
Wow.
We have 3 pools on property as well, so.
There's also a spa?
Absolutely, 25,000 square foot spa, nature inspired. You install the kinks, we'll work them out for you.
I got plenty of kinks when I drive up here alone, and then the grueling filming schedule. Beer, steak, you know.
You know.
Seriously, on a very serious note, Craig, is this place haunted? Haunted.
Oh, there are spirits.
That's true. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
To that.
People have had experiences. I personally have not, but we have done 2 segments on different TV shows that talk about ghosts. That is one of the reasons that people want to come here and stay in room 314.
Yes.
People have said that the spirit of Princess Caroline inhabits that bed at night.
I didn't want to say anything to Craig, but I thought I heard something strange last night.
Craig Clemmer, it's been a pleasure to be here at the Mount Washington Resort.
It's been our pleasure.
But next time, man, you got to invite me up for a week.
Absolutely.
And you promised me that massage later.
Absolutely. Let's finish these beers first.
It's going to be drinking to that. Cheers.
Well, I had a lot of fun here at the Omni Mount Washington. Just in case I didn't embarrass myself enough, well, I made it almost to the... Okay, I made it all the way to the summit of Mount Washington. Sorry. And it's... This is gonna be a little very cool. And there's some diesel Craig Clemmer talked with me about the historic significance of the Omni Mount Washington Resort.
44 countries from all over the world came to this location to chart the course of economic recovery after World War II.
But now it's time to travel back in time. No, not Marty McFly style in a DeLorean. I'm heading back to the Cog Railway for a ride on an authentic steam engine back to the top of Mount Washington. And this time, I'm bringing my daughters, Jamie and Jenna, along for the ride. Okay, it's possible that riding on trains is not what every teenage girl dreams of.
How you doing?
I'm fine, welcome.
Thank you very much. Tell me whose crazy idea this was.
Well, Sylvester Marsh invented the railway, and he was called Crazy Marsh because everyone was sure that you could not get up a mountain this steep on a regular railway. He was an inventor, so he said, okay, I'm going to find a way to do this. He had to get permission from the state legislature, and they thought he was crazy, and they said, even though we're sure he's not going to be able to do it, we will not only give him a permit to go to the top of Mount Washington, but we will give him a permit to go to the moon.
But this does not go to the moon.
That's not the intent.
That's the addition you're planning.
Yes.
I understand there are two. There's a biodiesel and there's an original steam. So can you tell me a little bit about the differences between those and the experience riding up?
The Cog Railway began, as I said, in 1869. The fuel at that point was wood. It changed to coal in the late 1800s, and we continue to have the coal-fired locomotives today. And that experience takes you back 100 years. You have the cinders, you have the noise, you have the rattle. You've got the firemen shoveling a ton of coal.
I'm pretty good at shoveling, so maybe I can apply for a job next summer.
You know, I've got you on tape, and so you're going to have to come back and do that.
Although I think the job I really want is brakeman. I think that's the most fun.
Now, as we round this next corner right here, we're going to be entering onto Jacob's Ladder. Now, this is the steepest part, so if anybody wants to, try to stand up so you can see what it feels like.
Jenna is really digging the trip. But for me, I think it's time I spice things up a bit.
And I also have a special surprise for you guys today.
Hey, good morning, folks. My name is Greg Bogosian. As Josh said, we do have a big surprise for you now that we're on the steepest part of the trip. I am your brakeman in training this morning. Josh is going to put the hat on me. I'm going to let you know that this is my first day on the job. I don't have any prior experience with the Cog Railway and the braking systems, but not to worry, I do have plenty of experience braking my car. No, literally, I broke it just last week. No, but thanks a lot, folks, for indulging me in my first bit to stand-up comedy.
That was fun. I think I better stick to my day job and let Josh stick to his.
We're going above the clouds now.
Clouds?
Yeah, these are clouds.
The weather at the summit is dramatically different on my second day here.
Really windy.
It is windy.
Yesterday's 80-mile views gave way to clouds and high winds. So I thought I would take my girls to explore the indoors at the Summit Museum and the Mount Washington Weather Observatory. In 1934, the observatory recorded the highest wind gust in the world at 231 miles per hour, a record that was held until 1996.
Oh, there we go.
By the end of the trip, the girls were experts at the Snowcat simulator. The folks at the Mount Washington Cog Railway take safety very seriously. It takes extensive training to become a brakeman or brakewoman. On this trip, Josh was kind enough to ride along. But it's brakeman Tom who's getting us home safely on the steamer.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for sharing all this information with.
Get this man an adult beverage.
No kidding. Well, the Cog Railway is certainly an iconic piece of New England history, and I really thank you for inviting me here today.
Thanks, come again.
Will do.
On my journey to the White Mountains in New Hampshire, I had the most amazing time with a trip through history. First, I checked into the Omni Mount Washington Resort, where I met up with Chef de Cuisine Roger Young for a terrific scallop dinner.
This is great.
The next morning, Craig Clemmer made me feel welcome with a tour of the property and talk on the history of the resort. We ended the day hanging out in the cave over a drink or two.
The cave itself was originally a squash court.
Kathy Bador of the Mount Washington Cog Railway invited me on not one, but 2 trips to the summit of Mount Washington. First, we rode in the new environmentally friendly biodiesel engine to take in 80-mile views at the top. The next day, I got the chance to take my daughters Jamie and Jenna with me on a real steam engine. The weather was dramatically different, but that didn't stop us from having fun at the summit. I hope you enjoyed this historic trip to the White Mountains as much as I did. I'm Greg Bogosian. I'll see you next time on The New England Traveler.